approaching things lah. Maybe because of this that you won't get the consent, you won't get the cooperation of the staff. So kalau orang yang tak ada HR, kalau small companies, the fact that your company cannot afford a HR, meaning it is small enough for you to communicate yourself lah. So try your best to communicate with the staff, and get it is more of a cooperation thing lah. You make a decision with them instead of towards them. So it is likely that they will agree. Kalau dia tak 100% agree pun 50% agree cukup lah. So at least it won't be that difficult for you to implement your pay reduction dan apa semua lah.
So Prem, how about you? Are you actually advising company to relook into their policies or something like that?
Every time so far when the government makes any announcement with regards to MCO, my phone rings and blows up like no tomorrow for 6-7 hours non-stop. I among those is like before
How many phone you have?
Yeah, it blows up with, it's like call after call after call after call trying to to pacify. So I find it very a little bit concerning, because a lot of employers, I understand it's actually ended up becoming like more of a counselor nowadays. So that jangan rasa takut, tak apa, you can masih lagi boleh sustain your company. Then second, tolong, usually if you go and take so harsh measures, a lot of employees will say, oh God, I cannot pay them, I don't want to pay them any money. So you have to tell them, what the law says, what the ministry guidelines says, what's your company situation now, can you sustain yourselves, and what compromise that you can achieve. No company, two companies alike. Some of those who are very lucky in MNCs, yes, MNCs are paying, but in SMEs and smaller industries, those who are essential and non-essential industries, every company has to devise their own method of communicating with their employees. But it cannot be the first day announcement being, I don't want to pay anyone's salary. I don't want to pay. It cannot be that way. Find a way first. If it prolongs even further until next month, then yes, that at least is justifiable. I think employees are also human beings. They also can understand. At the end of the day, I think that. But it cannot be the first automatic reaction, okay, I'm not paying salary, nobody's working. So it cannot be that.
What is the time range? If you can say, time range, how many months? Time range?
I think, don't quote me, because I might not be used as a precedent to say, Prem said this, May onwards you can do so, or June onwards can do so. So, but I think every company has to look at their own financial projections, where, how many more months. But before that, look at the data. Don't just come up and just say that, oh no, I have to do this now. We're not looking at the data. So
employee will live in fear.
Yep.
Yeah, yes. So I think, I think that, so after calming people down and telling them, tapa, don't worry, there's hope. So I have also, like Dato, giving free advice, I became part-time counselor also.
So how about you, Dato? Because I think you are kind of unique, because you have seen from both sides. You are from the third party. You are not the HR who manage the whole thing. You are not a lawyer who is defending the company or people. But you are most likely the third party who actually listen from this. Different company will come off, different problem to you, but you will actually judge based on your, I think, understanding, based on your common sense and all that.
Yes. Looking from the third party point of view, I would like to pick up on two things that Prem and Puan Tahirah spoken about just now. First, about the question of engagement. That's very correct. Engagement, that it will be very important, because as Puan Tahirah mentioned just now, under any circumstances, we have to avoid making a unilateral decision. There has to be consultation, there have to be engagement, because the relationship between the company and an employee is based on a contract, a contractual relationship. And out of that contract arises rights and interests. So both need to be protected. So we have to make an engagement, discussion, lay out the options, discuss the option we have, and come up with the best solution agreeable to both sides. And if we have to make exceptions, we have to make exceptions because of the circumstances. Prem was right just now, saying that, yes, we have general rule, but every general rule, we have exceptions. And maybe because of the circumstances we are in now, the exceptions will become the general rule, and the general rule become the exception. That situation may arise. And of course, about what Puan Tahirah mentioned just now about the need to be more empathic and all that. I have this to say. Actually, everyone is an employee. Because most of the time the employer is a company, and the company is a separate legal entity. Nobody is actually the company. The company is an institution by itself, and everybody in the company is an employee. Even if you are in the management, the top management, you can still be dismissed.
Yep.
Yeah. You still have a relationship with this company, which is not a real person per se, but an entity. So protecting the employees is actually protecting the company. So it's actually a mutual thing. You have to look after the company in order to look after yourself, your interest, your livelihood, whatsoever. It's not a case of me against the company. It's actually, you know what I mean when I'm trying to get to the company. There is no one person with a company. It's an entity that consists of every part and component of everyone in the company itself. So based on that premises, so engagement has to be made. You have to make concessions. You have to protect the interests of the company because you're protecting themselves. Based on we start from this ground, this premise, and move from there. So that's how I look at it as a third person. Okay, thank you.
Okay.
So I guess in the first round, our first MCO, right? The first MCO, most employers quite abide to the rule, say, okay, we have to pay full and all that. I think when they got extended, when they got extended, then with the another announcement said that the company can now go and negotiate about the salary deductions and so on, unpaid leave and so on. You start to see another wave and change. The communication have changed, even in social media and all that. So for you, Tahirah, what is the challenges that you face, especially in the second round? It all still maintained?
I suppose, okay, communicating through social media is not really a challenge lah. Except if you're like living in an estate like me with a low broadband, with a bandwidth teruk sangat. I know I'm disappearing, on and off. But I think sebab if you already have the esprit de corps daripada awal, the team spirit tu daripada awal memang is part of your culture. I rasa whether you're online, offline, virtual, whatsoever, that team spirit, that bond will still be there. So I think it is, kalau you are a company yang working in a silo, masing-masing kan, then it will be difficult lah. Because even if when you're physically present in the same office, everyone is working on their own, apatah lagi if you're working, remotely. So I think the challenge will be not so much of the usage of the IT or the usage of technology. It is actually how you manage yourself, how you manage your interaction with your team. The manager, how you delegate. Kalau you jenis orang yang, you do this, okay, it's not going to work. Now, the key word here is we will do something. That's why when I talk to my people, I will tell them, okay, let's do this. We will do this. Sebab kalau kita kata we, kan, so it's bridging the gap somehow. The gap that's caused by not being. Yeah. Tapi kalau kita, macam kalau saya, of course if I instruct, everybody will follow lah. Tak ada siapa yang berani nak kata no. Tapi kalau dia kata, but that is, people will do it begrudgingly, which is not something I want long term lah. Yeah.
Okay.
So Prem, how about these unpaid leave, this salary deduction, the second round? You still have your phone still ringing, right?
Yeah. I would have to say that when extension came into play, and especially until 28th of April, and not having a full month of not working, and post Chinese New Year business sales, and now pre-Raya coming in, a lot of businesses are very heavily affected by this. So now the question will be: is a lot of companies have already have only a certain number of reserves in their bank account, how many more months they can survive. So now the question comes is, how many more months can I go on with this situation? So pay cuts has to become very prominent, and how to actually implement it legally. So that is the question that I think I have most faced with. So I do advise the clients and how to actually go about doing it. But I always emphasize that engagement is very important, and pay cut should only come after they have actually gotten the consensus applied. And also, why not actually implement certain steps like this? If the company is having financial problem now, maybe you can actually input it to the employees that 6 months thereafter, you can actually do a way to trade off returning back in some way, however the company can so devise in a matter which is comfortable by way of bonuses or repayment and all this. So these are the steps that can be taken, and maybe at the end of the year, if the financial situation is back to normal and company is delivering a healthy profit, instead of hiding off the profits, return back some to the employee, some compromise, so that are the things that companies can take so to at least it will be easier to alleviate the concerns of all employees. And at the end of the day, the message must be very clear to the employees. What is the financial situation is in your company? There's no use hiding that, your company is not going to do well and we are going to gulung tikar. And then everybody loses their job. So I think being transparent is very important.
So, Dato, how you have observed with all these questions and your time that when these people start to call you, I'm pretty sure the first phase is different question, the second phase you have slightly different question.
Yeah, well, from my point of view, actually when the second phase was implemented, the effect is that the impact is more. The good thing is that I think most people already got their background, they've already got the experience of how dealing with it. It's just that situation now become worse, so there's more impact. So how do we make further adjustments? So interesting what Prem said about one of the alternative being a pay cut. Pay cut is, I think, compared to being laid off altogether, is a better alternative. Like it's a question of which one is the lesser evil. So we have to choose the less evil thing, and adjustment has to be made and make up for it in some other way later on. But in the meantime, companies, employers have to be creative. How do we go through this situation together? For example, giving an example. For example, the employee now cannot come to work. Maybe we can the companies can let them find something else, moonlighting, doing something else, or maybe we can adjust their functions. Adjust their functions, meaning that make them do some other things, which they can do from home. So some adjustment in terms of rules and function, some slacking of how should I say it? Some rigid rules. For example, okay, usually you cannot
leniency.
Yeah, some leniency somewhere to help them survive. They want to do other jobs, for example. So company have to give that leeway. And also a lot of companies, especially the bigger ones, I think, because not all companies are actually affected negatively by this situation. There are companies that actually can take advantage of the situation and make more business actually. Maybe not that much, but a few. But those big companies have got lots of reserve, have got fund, and I see now a lot of companies are going into CSR, helping out all these people who are putus bekalan, they cannot go out to work. Charity start at home. CSR your own staff first. Give priority to your own staff first before actually, going in front of the press, calling all these people to come forward and then ambil gambar, make photo, you giving them out. Do it quietly to your own, to your own staff. Help them make adjustment. So it's just making an adjustment for the longer period of time, continuing with what had been done in the first place before the second extension. So that's the way I look at it.
Okay. Dato, a statement when you said that okay, we need to do some adjustment, giving them maybe like moonlighting and all that. But Prem, how can you actually give your view on this? If let's say the company gives that leeway to the employees, how the law look at it?
I think that the situation, what Amelia you have mentioned, would be more towards those situations that those employees that have been put on unpaid leave. So a lot of them for during this period, when you have put someone on unpaid leave, I think it's very, very important is that I think companies must understand it's not just purely using the word unpaid leave. There should be an addition to say that the contract of employment is suspended and they are allowed to do so. They are allowed to do other alternative employment. Because I think the fairness must be there towards the employee. I don't see in reality, how can you put someone just on unpaid leave, not provide an alternative or not allow them to find an alternative and expect them to return back to work after 6 months. For example, I know some people actually putting 6 months as unpaid leave for reasons that most likely to claim the ERP. So I think there can be this, that even there are certain ways that maybe companies can implement by providing, like, for example, like what Dato has mentioned and all that, freelancing works and all this moonlighting and all that, but with the consent of the employer. I think that's where fairness has to be struck. It is possible to be done, suspend the employment contract, by putting everyone on unpaid leave and authorizing them to do so, maybe under the company banner or not so under the company banner. I think that will depend on the nature of the business itself. I think allowing them to go even to do, currently alternative methods of employment, like for example, delivery, I believe in Ramadan coming down and all this. I think these are the things that every company can consider.
So what do you think, Tahirah? Is it okay?
Yeah, I think it's okay. I think it's okay. I'm not speaking for companies, but my company,
this is
orang
your
yang
personal.
arrested
We are
pun
talking
kena
about
bayar
from
juga.
a personal perspective.
From a general perspective, it is fine. Tapi something I want to pick up from what Prem has said just now about this unpaid, pay cut, yeah. I would advise employers when they want to talk about pay cuts and the reason for the pay cuts to the employees, not to lie about it. Kalau the company is really suffering and pay cut is unavoidable, then go ahead and tell the employees, this is, to avoid you from being retrenched. So we have to save you. So therefore we have to implement this pay cut. I have had a few people who have asked me this question. They said that, okay, these people are accountants and they are the ones who are, in the know about the financials of the company, whether it's healthy or not. They said that the company is actually still very healthy for the next 6 months, even though another pandemic will come. However, the top management is ignoring the advice of the accountants and using the pandemic as a reason for reduction of salary. And the way they're putting it is that, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you're going to have to face a salary cut effective from the month of April because we're not making profits and this, and we will take time to recover from the economy. So if let's say, even if the employee consents, but you obtain the consent fraudulently, so one day the employer realizes this and takes up action against you, then you may not have a defense against your constructive dismissal ni lah, any claims lah, because you see I know this for a fact because actually it came from one of my close friends lah. He's an accountant, he's a chartered accountant, and he's the one taking care of the purse strings of the company. So he has been telling the management time and time again that his company is doing well and he can afford to pay salary until December. Tapi management kata no, we're going to have a pay cut of 50% across the board, 50, 20, 30%. Tapi management dia pandai. They did not impose this pay cut on those employees who are under the act. Yang bawa akta dia tak sentuh. It's only those who are above 2,000. So my advice is very simple lah. If you have to implement a pay cut, make sure it's a genuine reason for doing so. Don't lie to your employees. Don't obtain their consent fraudulently, because it might shoot you back in the other leg. When the MCO is lifted later on.
The next question is quite interesting. There's a lot of employer basically asking this, and there, I think there's many platform like this has been on air since MCO. But the question that actually they always ask during this time MCO, what happened to the poor performer who are in the middle of their PIP, or even though the staff who actually in the middle of disciplinary inquiry or disciplinary cases or process. So what happened to these people? If let's say they've been given 6 months.
Okay, audio wise, you guys are disappearing again.
Oh,
Kurang
can
jelas.
you hear? Kurang jelas.
Kurang jelas. Now jelas.
Okay.
Okay. So what happened? How basically what you can share with us, Tahirah, the how to manage this poor performance?
Those on PIP, is it? Those on
Yep.
PIP and those in the middle of disciplinary.
PIP and the process, the disciplinary process. Because the question is, should they continue? That's number one, or they should actually wait until MCO and restart the whole process. What happened?
Okay. Performance issues and disciplinary issues are distinct things. They are two separate things. But when you talk about relate or they arise from breaches of contract. Performance issues are performance just matters of suitability or unsuitability for the job. If someone is on PIP and then the MCO, the pandemic happens. Yeah, I know. I'm seeing fuzzy images also. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now okay.
Okay.
Now can I?
It's yellow now.
Okay. Yeah.
Okay.
Can you hear now?
Breaking a bit.
Dengar?
Breaking a bit.
Okay. Now clearer?
Yeah, now okay.
Okay. Like I said, PIP and disciplinary issues are things because kalau PIP, what I would do is to discuss with the employee concerned and put the PIP program on a moratorium, suspend it for a while. Okay, suspending ni that doesn't mean that you just suspend and forget all about it when the MCO is lifted. You suspend it because at this moment the MCO because of the MCO the environment of the work has changed. So the KPIs or the targets which you've negotiated during the initial period of the PIP may no longer be relevant or may be impossible to achieve. So you rehatkan dulu the PIP program, but please communicate with the employee because after the MCO is lifted, you may have to prolong the PIP program so that employee has to agree lah. Okay, so after MCO is lifted, you need to tengok balik your targets, renegotiate balik your targets and then your performance areas, your key improvement areas. Then you can carry on with that lah. So for me, I would put a moratorium during the MCO. Tapi kalau disciplinary issues, okay, MCO or no MCO, disciplinary issues, breaches of contract will still arise. You will have people defaulting the MCO order. You will have people defaulting company policy. You know, when we tell them no social distancing, dia balik kampung, attend kenduri. Lepas tu, menjangkit with some other people. Some, they suspected that they have contracted COVID. And they do not declare, they come back to work. Sorry?
Different kind of problem.
Yes. So what I'm saying is that breaches of contract will arise. Even though there's a pandemic, there's a plague, these things happen. So what I will do is I will still kalau that person has defaulted on a social distancing policy or regulation, get the person tested, get the person quarantined for 14 days, tapi show cause letter still keluar, why you defaulted? The company policy. But I will give more time lah for the person to answer. Kalau dia tak kena COVID, Alhamdulillah, dah baik nanti, dah habis quarantine, sila jawab. And kalau I'm not satisfied, perlu ada DI buat selepas the quarantine, selepas the MCO is lifted lah. Tapi kalau let's say they reply and I'm not happy and I want to issue them a warning or whatever, I have to write to them a letter saying, we have received your response, but we will determine the punishment later lah after the MCO is lifted or something like that lah. Sebab I tak boleh biarkan benda tu suspended in thin air. Kalau benda tu in a limbo, nanti dia ingat benda tu dah settle. So it amounts to condemnation pula. Kan?
Correct.
So for no MCO ke PIP, PIP bolehlah kasih tidur sikit, kasih dia hibernate sikit. Tapi disciplinary matters still has to be addressed. Sebab itu tantamount to a breach, you see.
I got a question. So your DI, you akan buat virtual ke ataupun face to face?
I know you're going to ask that question.
Actually,
A lot of things now go online. Okay?
Actually, kita pernah buat DI ni sebelum, years before, way before there was even a COVID. Pernah buat in camera. Pernah buat. Sebab saksinya tidak berada di tempat yang sama. So saksi tu terpaksa diletakkan dekat depan Skype and then dia bagi keterangan using Skype. So I believe a full DI can be held using Zoom. Boleh lah. I rasa boleh.
Okay.
But I need to ask Dato, because Dato smiling when say, okay, we have a separate thing, separate. Okay, when it comes to court, Dato, so how it look like?
Admissible or not?
Employer out there want to know, because this is a common question in my HR group. Can we conduct DI virtually?
Yeah.
I think why not? There was no hard and fast rule on this. There is no provisions as how DI is supposed to be conducted in terms of physical situation. Physically, how is it to be conducted? I don't think there's any rules governing that I'm aware of, because DI most of the time are concerned with the principles, the legal aspect, ordinary adram patem, giving the chance to be heard, and these are the things that the DI has to comply with, but not the physical aspect, where you're sitting, where the judge is sitting, where you are sitting, where the witness is sitting. I think that is not main concern. But can I continue with what Tahirah said before? Because I picked up a few interesting issues Tahirah said just now. First of all, about people taking advantage of the situation, both companies and employees taking advantage of the situation. Example given by Tahirah just now is where the company is simply making pay cuts, even though the company is healthy, just an excuse. I do not know the reason, maybe more profits or whatever. This is actually a dangerous situation for whoever is doing it, because if this thing were to ever come out, and let's say somebody take an action out of it, an employee not satisfied, and went to the authorities, goes to the authorities and start an action, the company will not be able to defend itself. Think of that situation. So some heads might roll there, because who make this decision, which is against the record. You must remember, if the things what layman say pergi ke tengah, you have to support your decision, and supporting your decision are with records, company records. So if the records does not support your decision, it's very difficult for you to defend that decision that you made, and somebody has to answer for it. So whoever who make that decision better be prepared to answer for it, and maybe action can be taken against him later on. Okay, that's on the part where the company is taking advantage of the situation. And then, of course, there are also employees taking advantage of the situation. So there are two issues that Tahirah mentioned just now, disciplinary and performance. I'm in agreement with what Tahirah's company is doing when it comes to performance. We have to put it under moratorium. Circumstances have changed. You cannot use the old method to evaluate, to make a valuation of performance based on the old method. Now that situation has changed. We have to remember that. But disciplinary issues are real, because there may be a situation where employees would take advantage of this situation for their own personal interest whatsoever. So on disciplinary issues, I suggest companies pick and choose. What are the things that they can be lenient with because of the situation? We discussed about this just now. Certain things you can give leeway, you can be lenient, you can slacken a little bit, but certain things you have to very strict. So what are the things you can be lenient with? What are the things that you have to be strict with? Is up to the company. For example, a company that's got a lot of people in employees. Somebody who went back to the kampung, example given. That's a very strange situation if you ask me, because usually action are taken for people who are absent from work, he didn't come to the office. Now we are taking action against people who actually come to the office. So it's the other way now. See how much the situation has changed. So some adjustment has to be made. And what are the things that are considered